So we're not covering what these statements mean. Because we're not really trying to learn these operators, which is what we would be doing. We would be picking up knowledge of memorizing these operators in particular. We're trying to master picking up new operators. Now, actually, mastering picking up new operators, we could take that phrase to include knowing how to represent the operators to myself with set examples, which we're not getting any practice in that because I'm not making any set examples. Maybe I'm hoping that I'll be able to design a example generator or something. Anyway. It's kind of pointless to use the violet color. I'm just going to do this, and we'll restrict ourselves to doing side colors like this when using quantification, or maybe there'll be some other indicator, because I have to do this. Yeah, it's like we're shuffling around. We're shuffling around operators. We're shuffling around colors, color usage patterns. When I find myself always, like here, always doing violet and then red. Well, we could do that only with the first one, for instance. I'll try this out. Okay. So for all D, not sure where to go with that. Let's see what the end of it looks like. Oops. Alright, let's take this the longer way. Yeah, but this always reduces. How do I want to indicate that? Well, we could restart on the next page. This is not going so well. Let's see. Now, I could furthermore reduce this because I can always extract. Yeah, let's keep going with this. So if and only if E is equal to the ordered pair AB and the ordered pair AB. Is an element of R and A is an element of A. Okay. The reason though that we are keeping this around, but yeah, okay, we can drop this. The reason we're keeping it around is that we want to be able to step forward and have this on the right hand side of the conditional expression. So what do I actually want to do with that? Yeah, let's do this. I don't know why I canceled this out. Strange. Is an element of. Actually, we could do an intermediate step. keep that copy of E equals the order pair AB lying around. And that'll be our down step. Yeah, this is visually confusing. I'm having a hard time looking at it. Okay, but we actually don't want this down step here. Yeah, it's actually not obvious that we need that down step either. Because I could re-extract an and E equals the order pair AB, and then from that, yeah, I don't think we need the down step. This is a rough draft. We don't need the down step because, well, supposing we take ourselves as able to, like, if I start out with E equals the order pair CD, and the order pair CD is an element of R and C is an element of B, we might grant ourselves the capacity to and on E equals the order pair AB. And like these two terms, in which case we'd be able to unpack these three terms wherever we had the first line. Well, no, I'm not sure that's the point, because yeah, I guess I still don't really understand the point of quantification. Maybe that would be more obvious in object examples where I actually care about the quantification, where the quantification is motivated. The quantification is not motivated here. And the reason we don't want to step this down is because this is the right-hand side. So we don't want to step down into an expression because we wouldn't be proving that A as a subset of B is forward derivable to this expression. We'd be proving that A as a subset of B is forward derivable to this forward derived expression. Or at any rate, we wouldn't be able to use this forward derived expression as a substitute for up here. So I am thinking. Okay, but this gets us. So where does the downstep occur? Also, yeah, it doesn't really benefit us to get all the way back to here, because that's also just where we started. Whatever. If we go back to this expression, say for all D, and I think the point is that we're supposed to downstep here and say let x-axis and a. And there exists a b such that d equals the ordered pair a, b, and where am I getting this expression that the ordered pair AB is an element of R? Huh. This term, rather. Well, we're free to OR on whatever we want, but I don't know what we're going to OR on. So I think this would be wrong as well. This isn't the D, this isn't what we've quantified over. Mysterious. Okay. Let's try a little bit of logic magic. If I say P then Q, forward derivable rather. So now we're not going to tack on a tautology. Though we could add on a contradiction actually. Rather, we could OR on a contradiction. Well, let's see. Well, so if we're free to forward derive already, we still wouldn't want to do it this way ideally, because you don't want to forward derive unless you're required to do so. You want to you want to maintain your derivability as long as possible. But okay, we could OR on not R. Okay, group these together. general pattern that that's giving us is that we can always and on to the antecedent if we step down that biconditional. Which makes good semantic sense because we're saying and then we could say this is some interesting logic we're doing. This is sensible because we're saying, well, if P then Q, then it must be the case that P and R then Q. Wait, why would that have to be the case? Let me think here. P and R then Q, with the point being... Well, you couldn't or onto the antecedent unless you get there with some kind of contradiction or tautology trick. If meeting this lesser condition gives us Q, then meeting this stricter condition would also give us Q. I don't know, I don't need semantics, it doesn't make any difference to me. Alright, so this also gives us P and R, then P and R and Q, which forward derives into, can forward derive into P and R, then Q and R. Okay. With the takeaway being, if I have for all S S is an element of A, then S is an element of B. Okay, and then I want to say if and only if not S is an element of A or S is an element of B. Okay, then I forward derive what am I forward deriving? Well, so we're getting the inspiration here from this point, which is that these two terms are the same. Or she. Not S is an element of A, or S is an element of B, or not exists an A and there exists a B such that E equals the ordered pair. I think I can just say B. Yeah, we could do the full thing. And say also that there exists a D such that D equals the ordered pair AB and the ordered pair AB is an element of R. Which is interderivable with S is an element of A, and so actually I think we're supposed to skip this quantification and then this should be S. Okay. S is an element of A, and there exists a B such that there exists a B. Such that D equals the ordered pair SB. And ordered pair SB is an element of R. Okay. And then let's see. S is an element of B, and there exists a B, and there exists a D such that D is equal to the ordered pair SB, and the ordered pair SB is interderivable with the expression that D is an element of RA, then D is an element of RB, which is equivalent to saying that RA is a subset of RB. Okay. Sure. Okay, I'll take it. Logic tricks. I speculate the reason you would care about, a practical reason you would care about the distinction between the golden key example here is golden key example here is, I think, right, a system where the system I have imagined where logic as a kind of resource-based system where you can do logic, but you have to be careful. You don't have sort of free reign. It's like you have limited resources at the beginning, and each time that you and on, or more obviously, each time you or on something, you've utilized a resource, or you can't or on. Okay, and that would make it a relevance logic, though I don't know my terms so well. But okay, there are logics where you're not free to or on anything you want. Okay, and now you could scoff at that. Well, that would make mathematics rather more difficult, wouldn't it? But what if we had a physical representation of a logical system? And oring on required energy, as it were, a resource. And the idea would be that P then Q and P, and then we step forward into Q. This would be a kind of destructive process. Well, it's already an irreversible process. I'm kind of frazzled today. I'm not thinking so clearly. But okay, yeah, and if we had to host, or if we had to use a physical substrate for our logical system, we might care about the difference between, we might care about our capacity to or on arbitrarily, because that would require electricity or something. Though all that would mean is that if we came upon a physical system that, like, where we want to host computation in that physical system, and it was resource-based like I just described, it would behoove us to have a built-out system of logic or understanding of logic that doesn't require or doesn't utilize ORing on. It's like you'd prefer the constructive alternative or the relevance alternative as a practical matter. And then it would be normal math in a way, because if you had a physical system where you had to use relevance logic, it would just be math. It wouldn't be. It would just be logic. Or yeah, it wouldn't be relevance logic per se, because you have to do it that way. Anyway. Actually, I like this. I like this proof. I think I might redo this 29 after I do 30. It was an interesting one. Okay. All right. For all D is an element of R pipe A intersection B. If and only if. In a way, I don't know why I'm so talkative today, but in a way, it strikes me that the quantification system is like a typing system, where you can do all your coding without types. You can do all of your coding without types, but you can reason about the semantics easier if you have the types. Similarly, the quantifiers don't interact mechanically. I'm not sure that's true, but interesting to keep in mind. Anyway, is an element of this set if and only if there exists an A and there exists a B as such that D equals the ordered pair AB and the ordered pair AB is an element of R. And A is an element of A intersection B. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. And what do I want to get out of that? Oh, okay, so interderivable with D equals the ordered pair AB and the ordered pair AB is an element of R and A is an element of A and the ordered pair interderivable with D equals the order pair AB, and the order pair AB is an element of R pipe A, and the order pair AB is an element of R pipe B. Okay. If and only if D equals the order pair AB and the order pair AB is an element of R pipe A intersection R pipe B. Okay. If and only if D is an element of R pipe A intersection R pipe B. Okay. With no step down. Am I gonna redo that? 29. I think I get the point. Okay, let's see. Step down orange quantification here. Right. Now what? Theorem 31. Right, R pipe. A union B is equal to R pipe A union R pipe B. Okay. So to reiterate, what I'm hoping to get practice at here is, hey, here's an operator. Have you seen the pipe operator before? Let me tell you all about it. Let me tell you everything there is to tell you about it in its definition. Okay. Now work with it. Alright, sounds good. That kind of thing. I want to be able to pick up new operators. And then the idea is that this is general practice for any math that uses operators, which is all of math, perhaps. Much of math. D is an element of R pipe A union B. Okay. If and only if there exists an A and there exists a B, such that D is equal to the order pair AB and the order pair AB Yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to avoid having double parentheses in a row because I don't like the way it looks. Purely stylistic. And then I have to look a little bit ahead. A little bit ahead? That's too much work. Never mind, I'll just do double parentheses. Alright, so... So one question here is, given how I'm thinking about quantifiers, should I be repeating some of these quantifiers? And that is, I think, a quasi-semantic question, or maybe just a fully semantic question. Well, in one of the earlier proofs, I was struck by not feeling the need to reiterate the red quantification, but feeling the need to reiterate the orange quantification. Yeah, I don't know what would motivate that choice, though, so I'm going to not do it, but I'll leave room over here. Alright, so D is equal to the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, or A is an element of B. And then we distribute. Interderivable with D equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair is an element of R, and A is an element of A, or D equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A, oops. A is an element of B. Yeah, so the author says, actually, I'm not sure if it was this author or if it was the logic textbook, but reserving the first characters and the first letters in the alphabet for individuals. But we don't have individuals, so keeping the first half of the alphabet off limits for something that I never use, for a use I never use, seems like a bad practice. Though there is a distinct, maybe we do sometimes talk as if there are individuals. I don't know. It's hard to keep track. Anyway, interderivable with D equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB, that should be bracket, did not think ahead. The ordered pair AB is an element of R pipe A. with D is an element of. Did it again. D is an element of our pipe A, or D is an element of our pipe B, which is in turn interderivable with D is an element of. See, there, though, we could use parenthesis, but D is an element of our pipe A union our pipe B. Okay, which is our proof. Do I want to start a new page? Well, we're probably not going to fit the next theorem on this page. I guess the idea is that we're going to go back and illuminate these empty spots. Okay, theorem 32. R pipe A minus B is equal to R pipe A minus R pipe B. Yeah, all of these proofs are pretty similar. Well, actually, this first one up here is not similar, but we're eating rocks. We're biting rocks at the moment. For all D. Okay, let's see. D is an element of our pipe A minus B. Now you might say, do you have any idea what this pipe operator is actually telling you? No. And I don't care. I don't have to understand. This isn't about developing understanding of what this operator is doing. And then the other answer is yes, what this operator means. This is what it means. It means I have to do this. Anyway, exists an A and there exists a B such that D equals the order pair AB, and D is an element of R, and A is an element of A minus B. So we could go. We could start doing this again. Though, whether it's faster to put down my pencil, pick up the colored pencil, apply the color, pick up my pencil, and then keep going, is not obvious. Or for that matter, we could underline D as an element of R as well. But no, we don't want to do that. Okay. And A is an element of A, and not A is an element of B. Okay. If and only if blue and D is an element of R, and this should be the ordered pair AB is an element of R. Okay, I'll just put phi here. There we go. And similarly, I'll put phi here. This is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and not A is an element of B. And just for good measure, we'll throw in another blue. Okay. Okay. Now I need to investigate the endpoint, because I don't see how we get this negation on A as an element of B. How we get rid of that, or how we incorporate that into this expression. Okay. Whoops. Oof. Okay. For all E, rather. Alright, E is an element of R pipe A minus R pipe B, if and only if E is an element of R pipe A and not E is an element of R pipe B. There's this A, and there exists a B such that close the whole thing, and actually I'll do that. Okay, and not so one. I wonder how this mechanical line of proof, like on some of these mechanical lines of proof, watching how the proof played out. Actually, I'm going to bring up an object example here. Watching how the proof played out told me why this statement was not true. So this is not a theorem. We had to underline this with yellow because it's not a theorem. And I already had a good idea of why this would not turn out to be a theorem, based on proving the other direction. Namely this. No, not that. Where did I... Oh, did I do it? Yeah, here. This is the other direction. For whatever reason, we skip a page. So we could prove this direction, that this set is a subset of this set, and we couldn't reverse it. And I had a good idea of why that would be the case, based on how the proof played out, with no semantic understanding, with no pictographs, with no illustrative sets. I wonder if that will generally be the case. Why does that come to mind now? I don't know, I forgot. Alright, let's see. So not there exists a C and there exists a D such that E is equal to the ordered pair CD, and the ordered pair CD is an element of R, and C is an element of A. Okay. Okay. Alright, we'll just do it outright. Alright, so if and only if and we'll close this quantifier because we're going to change it. So yeah, here, why are we restating that quantifier? Why does it seem like it makes sense? I don't know. E is equal to the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and for all C and for all D, we reuse quantification colors. We don't have to do that. Such that not for all C and for all D, not E is equal to the ordered pair CD, or not the ordered pair CD is an element of R, or not C is an element of A. Okay. So this is I've identified a kind of loop in our logic here, which is a term I'm making up on the spot, but we don't want loops in our logic. What is the loop in the logic here? So up here, before I distribute this negation, I'm willing to replace these expressions. I'm willing to say E equals the order pair CD, and the order pair CD is an element of R, so E is an element of R. Okay. However, I would not be willing to distribute it. I would not be willing to update here. Well, at first blush, I wouldn't be willing to update here. Now, on reflection, maybe I would. In part because I could extract the negation and have the AND expression, perform that substitution, and then re-extract the negation. Or redistribute the negation, rather. Well, we would only have one term at that point, so the negation would be on a singular term. There would be no distribution. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're doing here. I can distribute this. It would be horrible to do that. It would be horrible to distribute here. But yeah, we could. Hmm. Alright, let's write out the, before we commit to the horrible distribution. Well, I'm playing it through in my head, and I'm not seeing how I don't see how the distribution proves useful. So let's write this out without, yeah, the color turned out not to be useful. Storing that term in blue did not prove useful. So we're saying D is equal to the order pair AB, and pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and not A is an element of B. So I see that we can downstep the right-hand side. This coloring might be unnecessary because we always perform this coloring. It just becomes decorative at that point instead of indicative. So we could step down this universal quantifier. So that we're, instead of saying for all C and for all D, we'd have the same quantifiers and we'd say not E equals the ordered pair AB, or not the ordered pair AB is an element of R, or not A is an element of A. And then if I distribute through this term, we'd get E equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and not A is an element of A. Oh, hold on, that should be B. Shouldn't it? Yeah. Okay. Okay, and that is a step down though, so we have to be able to go in both directions. We don't keep the bidirectionality by default in this direction. Yeah. All right. So then we're saying not E equals the ordered pair AB, or not the ordered pair AB is an element of R, or not A is an element of B. Okay. Now sure. I will go ahead and rewrite. So this says E is equal to the ordered pair AB, and spending time asking whether I should rewrite is time that I could be spending rewriting. And A is an element of A. Okay, and yeah, so this should be a down step. Okay, and not E equals the ordered pair AB, or not. Yes, actually, this is turning out to be a pattern, a recurring pattern that we'll see here. This popped up in another theorem that we did the other day. I don't recall which one exactly. what I am referring to here is that the first two of these distributed terms are going to produce a contradiction. And the last of these will not produce a contradiction. When I run out of these colors, am I going to re-up my subscription to my subscription to these colored pencils? Maybe. I'm used to using them at this point. Yeah, I think I'm not gonna rewrite. I'm not gonna write the whole thing. Now, since this is becoming a pattern that we see of over and over again. So if I distribute through here, we get E equals the order pair AB, and the order pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and so we're going to be distributing through to anding onto each of these terms. So it'll be all of that, light blue, and not E is equal to the order pair AB, but that's a contradiction. And then we'd and on to not the ordered pair AB is an element of R, but that's also a contradiction, and then these two are not contradictions, they're not the same term. So I will do this and that, if and only if. E equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and not A is an element of B. Okay. Interderivable with we'd be closing out our here. Alright, so E equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of and E equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and not, wait a minute, yeah, that's right. Yeah, not A is an element. Well, no, this is a bad step. This is a routing error. It's not a mistake, though. Okay. Right. This should rather say E is equal to the ordered pair AB, and pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A minus B. Okay, interderivable with alternating parentheses and brackets is not so pleasing either, but whatever. If and only if E is an element of E lumps B. Alright, and so that is... we might end up rewriting that. Due to execution errors. Okay, so this is going to be... right, that's only forward. No, only backward. We start, yeah, okay. The fact that I don't know that off the top of my head is part of the reason why we're going to rewrite that one. Okay, and now the question is... so actually the forward direction is comparatively simple. Because we get back to this expression. Okay. D is equal to the ordered pair AB. And the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and not A is an element of B, which is forward derivable with the expression. Well, the idea is that we should be able to OR on each of these terms. Well, we can OR on each of these terms. Actually, yeah, we can just do, yeah, we could just step this... wait, hold on. No, we can't step down this. Yeah, we can. Yeah, this is all just ANDed together. So, curiously, we don't use this term. We step it down. And then, so as to avoid confusing that point, I will do that as its own step, and then step down again. Yeah, I was looking, I was flipping through logic in my head, trying to figure out how we take this term that's anded on here and get it into this or expression, and then we don't need to. We can just drop it and or it on here. Curious. All right, now interderivable with. Yes, actually, we didn't need to take that step because we could just or on the negation out front with the and expression. Because, I mean, in a way, or technically, what we're oring on here is this entire expression, not the individual ors. So we could just as well or on the negation of the and term, the unnegated and terms in here, but whatever. Oh, and then we don't want to. We're free to choose whatever we or on, so we'll just or on. De-simplify that question right out the gate. Okay. If and only if D equals the ordered pair AB and the ordered pair AB is an element of R slash A. Oops. Wait a minute. No, this doesn't work. There's something busted here. The idea might work, but this needs to be an and that's a problem. Well, we should start this from the beginning anyway. Okay, theorem 32. Though we didn't resolve how, well, yeah, we'll have to figure that out. I guess it'll have something to do with anding on a contradiction. Not clear to me. If you can't prove it on a double page, do you really understand it? Yes, I'm a mathematician. I understand a lot of things that I can't prove on a single page. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Forgo. And this is decorative as well, but I'll keep that just because we need the delineation. Okay. So we're going to start from this direction. For all D, D is an element of R pipe A minus B. Nope. Of R pipe A minus. Okay, if and only if there exists an A and there exists a B such that D is equal to the order pair AB and yeah, I could start naming these stream titles for set theory at least. I could start naming them after the theorem that we're currently on. Start calling these, name these with descriptive names, because these are all getting uploaded to YouTube, so might as well optimize for search engines. And the order pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A. Okay. And not, so this is going to be orange. Not, there exists C, and there exists D, which will be Spanish orange. Such that D equals the order pair CD, and the order pair CD is an element of R, and D is an element of B. No, C is an element of B. Okay. Which is interderivable with no, not interderivable. Forward derivable. This is the step where we're gonna no, yeah, this needs to be interderivable because we need to distribute the negation through. Okay. A is an element of A, and so we close this quantifier out, and now we open up a new quantifier for all C and for all D. Yeah, we could keep cycling through the colors. Seems like a reasonable choice. Alright, then not D equals the ordered pair CD. Or not. Ordered pair CD is an element of R. Or not. C is an element of B. Okay. Which is forward derivable with D equals the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of So we would also close that out because we're shedding the C and the D. Not D is equal to the ordered pair AB. Not the ordered pair CD is equal to R. Not C is equal to B. Okay. And now we repeat this step, but I'm going to do a little bit more. I'm going to do black. Oh, these should be ors. Okay, so I'm going to merely color this step out. Noting that this is a contradiction. So this is interderivable. We did not note our step down. Oops. This should also be AB. And that should be A. Okay. Alright, so now the other direction. For all E. Oh, and what about quantifications? We step down here. Yeah, we don't step down orange until here. And then we never step down red. Okay. Now for all E. E is an element of our pipe A minus B. If and only if there exists an A and there exists a B such that E is equal to the order pairing E and order pairing is R and A is an element of A minus B. Okay. Interderivable with. Yeah, that's a useful convention to have, and I think we will start using that. What do I mean? In place equality statements. We're also missing a bracket there, unfortunately. Okay. Okay, though in this case, I feel like I need to look. I feel like I want a full copy, so whatever. We'll just write it out. Okay. Nah. Okay. Okay, so the problem we ran into back here was that this needs to be anded on. We can and on a contradiction. So the earlier observation about sort of hitting a point where I can't make the proof work. Another question is, if I butt up against a wall, if I find I can't continue a proof, is that going to tell me what the counterexample is? In this case, yes. Historically, I was able to figure out what the counterexample was readily from this, if I recall correctly. I wonder if that will generally be the case. Well, not our current concern. How do we get this anded on? What time is it, by the way? Yeah. Oh, no. Well, yeah, okay, if I have, P or Q and not Q. Let me think here. Oh yeah, but it would be P or P and not P. Don't want to wreck this. Let me get out my scratch notebook here. P or P and not P. Interesting. access pile. Okay. Actually, black could go in either. Okay. Alright. So if I have P or P and not P. Why do I want that? If and only if P or P and P or not P. Well, that gets us our P and. It's just now we have P or not P over here. don't know where this proof is taking me. Oh, is it the same idea? Maybe? What do I mean the same idea? Hmm. No, I was thinking of distributing again, but I don't think that's the idea. No, I guess that ended up being Ord. Or alternatively, P or Q. And not Q. And R. Or R and not R. Duplicate the P's, distribute through both, and then we get P or Q and P or not Q, and actually then it would be or P or R and P or not R. Yeah, I don't know what the point would be there. Let's see. Mysterious. Let's see what that actually looks like written out. What is that we want to see? Now that's getting extra fancy. Ooh, look how fancy that is. So if I say alright, so we've ended on our tautology. And now if I distribute, I get okay, the same idea. We can or this, or we can and reduce this, and then these are merely the expressions. E is an element of R A. And E is an element of R pipe B, or not. E is an element of R pipe B, which is interderivable with E is an element of R pipe A, and E is an element of R pipe B, or E is an element of R pipe A, and not E is an element of R pipe B. If and only if E is an element of R pipe A, and rather is an element of R, pipe A, intersection R, pipe B. Or E is an element of... did I mess this up? Yes. Yeah. Wait, did I though? I forgot. What direction are we proving in at the moment? We started with... No, yeah, this would be right. Supposing this got us where we wanted to go, though it did not do that. Let's see. R pipe A minus R pipe B. Where these are mutually exclusive. Yeah. We can't shed this or. So we can't close out the proof in this fashion, through this pathing. The logic is weak today. Hmm. The idea strikes me to duplicate this expression and it onto itself and then extract a negation. Mm-hmm. Which doesn't quite work because this would be off parity. If we extracted a negation on this expression, we'd have not E equals the ordered pair AB, or not AB equal as an element of R, or not A as an element of A. Yeah, well, actually, we could duplicate the expression and then step this down, so we got rid of the extra copy of A as an element of A for the one that we negate. But yeah, we would still run into the problem of having this off parity, because after we extract the negation, this will be or A is an element of B. That's an idea. Let's try that in Scratch as well. This will probably be finish us out for today. Alright, so what if I do... This will be extra curious. Let's try E is equal to the ordered pair AB, and the ordered pair AB is an element of R, and A is an element of A, and not A is an element of B. Okay. And then we OR on right. Not E is equal to the ordered pair AB. No, we're not going to be able to extract. That's not a workable idea. No. Hold on. No, that's not. It might not work, but it's not laughably erroneous. I think. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just skip that term. Okay, so this is, the idea here is that we now have this and term on both. Okay. So we would have not A as an element of B, and then these two terms ORed together. And what do you suppose we get out of that? No, yeah, it's not useful. Well, it for the day. Okay.